Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, the Premier League is back. We are back. I can't wait. This is exciting. I was just saying off air, I'm really annoyed about things at the moment with Villa, but this is Newcastle. I mean, to touch on it briefly, this could go either way, couldn't it? This could go either. This is either like Newcastle 5-0, Villa 5-0.
Well, that's exactly what I've been saying. Like this week, I was chatting to a couple of got a really quite diverse group of lads at work.
I was going to say, I feel like every podcast, I was chatting to somebody at work and I'm like, you have one of every Premier League team in the
Honestly, not far. I work with like City fans, Everton fans, United fans, Liverpool fans, Spurs fans, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans. So we've got like five of these represented in like the desks around me. So there's a good consensus of teams. And I was like, we were kind of going around discussing our opening fixtures for the weekend, and I was like, yeah, we got Newcastle, which is really interesting because the only possible outcome is either they smash us or we smash them. That's all that happens in this fixture. Nothing else happens. And it's usually the home team that smashes the other team. And what's really interesting is, if ever there was a case of kind of how quickly things can change in football, I thought this was a really honking opening day fixture, to be honest with you, mate. Like when we first got the fixture list out, I was, Newcastle, that's not how you want to start. There is also a part of me that thinks that there is no possible fixture on the opening day where you're like, oh, that's a lovely start to the season. You always kind of do some kind of mental gymnastics and convince yourself that it's because you automatically go to newly promoted team. But if you get a newly promoted team, you're like, oh, their first game back in the Premier League.
And then if you go away, there's too much.
Yeah. And so and then, above that, it's like, worst team in the league after the newly promoted teams is like Wolves. And if you got Wolves on the opening day, I mean, that's not nice. So it's like, I do think there's an element of that. But I am feeling far more positive about it now than I was then. And it's not necessarily anything to do with what we've done in this transfer window. It's what they haven't done. And obviously the whole Alexander Isak situation that kind of feels like they are just kind of steamrolling towards this game under an almighty cloud. That was potentially until they are looking to get a bit of business done that I dare say we may dissect in some depth in this episode, mate.
Yeah, mate, it's a strange one for sure. And it kind of, does it put our window into perspective a little bit? I know we spoke on the last podcast and my opinion certainly hasn't changed. I don't think that this window has been as bad as some may think. And I know it's not, I don't think there's this sort of mass hysteria about the lack of business. I think everybody is obviously pretty understanding of the situation that we found ourselves in. But, I have gone on the record and said that I don't think we need too much. And I find it interesting because obviously it's that time of year. We've not done it this year. We've not done our Premier League table. We may have to do this as a late podcast prediction. It's part of this Villa for the heritage that we do one at the start of the season and then say that we'll react to it and then we never do. That we have to get that in at some, but maybe we do it after. I think, to be fair, I think last season we did it after the first game week as well, mate. So I think we can get away with that. But it's that time of year. Everybody's predicting what's going on in the Premier League, and everybody's saying things are going to go stale at Villa. And I just think that I can understand that perspective from the outside, but this is our third consecutive year in European competition, albeit each year's been in a different one, and we've not necessarily made our way up through the rank as you would maybe assume and go Conference, Europa, Champions League. We've obviously gone Conference, Champions League down into the Europa. I think that this is this we've so far we've kept the bones of the squad. It doesn't look like Ollie's going anywhere. It doesn't look like Emmy's going anywhere. We've rejected bids for John McGinn, which has obviously happened since the last time we spoke as well, mate.
Yeah,
this group has all of the experience that it needs to go on that Europa League run and go and win it. And, when you look at Spurs and United, right from the get-go last season, they were the favourites before a ball was even kicked. You have to look at Villa and Forest and feel the same way about both of those sides as well. So, I think the experience that the squad's had and the fact that we've kept it together, albeit, we're going to lose JJ and we'll get onto that. I'm like, reason to be fairly optimistic and, few additions here, Gesond. Like, I don't see why we can't do the same as what we did last year.
I think again it will be this the most important bit of business we've done this summer is keep all of those aforementioned players, sign Booba.
Yeah, one of the biggest. Yeah, Tillerman's in negotiations as well.
Yeah,
Dean accepted a lower contract as well, so it's huge, isn't it?
Guinea as well. Looks like there's one coming his way. And I think it was John Townley. You have to forgive me. Today I saw a post and it's like Villa, despite the sale of Ramsey, and maybe this is a good segue into that deal, mate, are still hamstrung by the UEFA financial rules, which you have so eloquently outlined all throughout this transfer window, may I say. And so even despite this kind of, whilst this alleviates us on the PSR front, those kind of squad
cost
ratio.
I say I know too much about it now at this point.
I forgot the R. I was going to go regulation or registration or something.
That can change.
Yeah. That is, still a kind of looming issue over the Villa squad going into this season. I think we'll start well. My main thing is I think there will need to be reinforcements in January. We've got a squad. It looks like it might be a smaller squad. We've not kept Ramsey, we've not kept Disassi, we've not kept Rashford. Like we're a smaller squad than we were then. There are names that we've kind of let go outside that. So we're a smaller squad. I think to kind of make sure we have that, although the kind of experiment didn't work, there's no doubt in saying that, Rashford and Asensio, Disassi gave us a real injection kind of going into that February-March period where the games, Champions League got going, FA Cup was going, all of those kind of fixtures were coming, twice a week, thick and fast. They really kind of helped push us through that. So I think we'll need some kind of reinforcements then, but I'm confident we can have a really nice start to the season. Excited to see who we get in the Europa League. And so, yeah, whilst this might actually in theory, it would loosen the purse strings on the PSR front in the Premier League. Maybe the kind of business that we'd like to go out and do that a 40 million pure profit sale would allow you to do, in theory, may be blocked by UEFA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing, we should probably get JJ out of the way at this point.
Yes.
Disappointing deal. There's been lots of chatter from the likes of Townley, Percy, all of the in the know guys that we've been in contract negotiations with Jacob for the past 6 months. And, does that raise eyebrows? No, because it kind of feels like it's been the past 42 months that we've been in contract negotiations with Boubacar Kamara. Finally came to an agreement, of course. I think this is an issue that we've been balancing for a long time. And, there is the talk from those outlets saying that the club offered Jacob around 85 grand per week. And apparently his camp were hoping for a figure around 125,000 pounds per week, which is quite a lot, I would say, even, as somebody who is a staunch defender of Jacob Ramsey. I love him. That's obviously a lot. And I don't like to sit on this podcast and talk about wages and all of that because first of all, none of them deserve that much anyway. That's the first, the most obvious thing. Footballers are paid an obscene amount, but also that is just life, right? So there's no value in me sitting here and going, he's not worth that much, he's not blah, blah. But I feel it is important within the context that we're in, because obviously the club are juggling so many things when it comes to squad cost ratio, PSR, all of this nonsense. So these discussions do have to be had, and if an agreement couldn't be made, which it clearly couldn't, and West Ham was the big one for a while, wasn't it? I know Newcastle's been lingering for a little bit, but Jacob signed to Unique, and I think his agent has some relations with West Ham, is what I've been seeing online. So it kind of felt like a bit of a no-brainer from their end to try and put pressure on Villa. Look, there's interest elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. That hasn't worked. We've now found ourselves in a situation where, okay, you're not going to sign his contract. I can't even remember how long Jacob has left on his deal. It's probably about 2.5 years or whatever.
I think it's 24 months.
Okay, so it's not that long. It's not that long. We don't want to get ourselves in a situation like Liverpool did with Trent, where they're forced to let their star boy, local lad, protege, greatest thing since sliced bread, leave. I would say for free, but Madrid did pay €6 million so as he could play at the Club Book Cup. But the sentiment's still there. This is a good thing for the books, and I hate that I'm even saying this because it's this isn't what football's about. But unfortunately, it's the world that Villa are kind of operating in, and I have this feeling that, I wouldn't have let JJ go. I think I think his potential is limitless. I think that it's important for me to say that. I think he's been really unlucky, but the injuries do kind of make it a little bit easier because he hasn't really been that present. And somebody replied to a TikTok I made about this the other day and said, "Oh, it looks like he's not missed too many games. Like there's the 32 games, 26 each season that he's played, but a lot of them are off the bench. A lot of them aren't starts. Consider how many games we played last season as a club as well. Jacob probably didn't even play in half of the games that Aston Villa played last season. So it feels like a good deal from that perspective, but it's the like intangible things that only really matter to you and I and the rest of the Villa fans about him being local from the area, being represented, and that's obviously a spot that we have to now cover in the European squad, mate, isn't it? We need to fill up another homegrown, home trained spot, and that seems to look a bit difficult to do now, especially since that fella's gone and signed for Everton.
Yeah,
I didn't really set you up with anything there, mate. I've just kind of dodged a lot there, so I can only apologise. But does it feel it doesn't feel right, but it does, doesn't it?
That's exactly what I was going to say. If there's ever a kind of deal that I think has outlined what a crazy place that we live in modern football, it's this one whereby I love Jacob Ramsey.
Yeah.
And I like, he's an academy prospect, but equally, like, I'm not the financial side of the game now just weighs so heavily in your mind that almost trumps it. And the first thing I thought, and this is potential rage bait in the comments, and I do apologize, but it's like if the Jack Grealish sale had happened in this modern era of PSR, like how the kind of heartbreak, like it almost makes you feel that, like, man, like, maybe we would have felt, if someone put £100 million now on an academy player from like Aston Villa, oh my God, like, you've got to think of all of the wild world of like doors that would unlock from like a transfer point of view. But yeah, I mean, hey, like we have, I think it's fair to say, become a really, really good selling club.
Yeah.
Now, we have generated, I think, 285 million on player sales since June 2024.
Wow.
Mental. And that's if Ramsey goes for the kind of agreed 40 million. If you look at recent departures from our academy, Jack Grealish at 100 mil, Carney at 20 mil, Amari Kellyman 19 mil, Jaden Philogene 5 mil, and then 20 mil. Cameron Archer was 18 mil and then 15 mil. Aaron Ramsey 14 mil. Jacob Ramsey 40 mil. It's incredible, really. I was actually, complete side note, I was actually putting together a bit of like a football pub quiz type thing the other day, and one of the things I was going to do was like the top 5 highest transfer fees paid into the Saudi league, and 2 Villa transfers are in there: John Duran and Moussa Diaby.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like they make the Saudi Pro League, like 2 Villa sales are in there. And so yeah, we really, really weren't good at this a few years ago, and I think we definitely have been able to do this, and especially when you factor in this probably isn't the highest fee we could have asked for Jacob Ramsey. We are not the ones holding the cards here. The buying clubs know that we've got a player that won't sign. Newcastle, I imagine, are kind of, would they have been okay to let this ride 6 months and maybe try in January? Probably. So it's like we don't hold any of the chips here. We're at complete mercy of the clubs around us. So I think all things considered, it's a good fee. You do kind of get to this position where it's like, we just can't afford to let players leave on free transfers. We just can't. Even if it's a kind of like, you get them to sign a contract and you say to them, look, just sign this and we'll let you go in 12 months. You've got to do that kind of stuff, which is why perhaps contract signings don't mean as much as they did a few years ago. See Jack Grealish. And so, yeah, it really, really does kind of bug me. I think we've tried to drag it out as long as possible so that he couldn't play on Saturday. If this deal is done, it's Thursday night now. The earliest it's going to get done is Friday. He won't be at Villa Park on Saturday in either claret and blue or black and white, which I think is for the best. And so, yeah, I think it's 4 league goals in 2 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
For 40 million. As much as I love Jacob Ramsey and he means so much more than the stat sheet, those won't be hard numbers to replace.
Yeah, and I think like when you look at the PSR situation as well, if you can go, I mean, first of all, there's Cole Ramsey. Let's just throw him in there. Let's swap one Ramsey out for the other. This is our last one.
Third
Let's
time
make
lucky,
it.
right? Third time lucky.
You know, they say the next one's always better. You know, we never
Yeah.
really saw it with Aaron, so hopefully Cole's got what it takes. Look, I think the kind of like that piece you mentioned from Townley, I saw the clip on a Claret and Blue or whatever it is. I can't. There's too many Villa podcasts to remember the names of. I'm sorry. That's not shade. I just can't. I genuinely can't remember the name of the podcast. He'd said that. Or what I'd kind of picked up from what he said was Villa can't afford to go and spend 100 million to go and replace Ramsey, right? Not like we would anyway, because that would be insane. I feel like there will be market opportunities for guys like Evan Gissard, other guys that you can get in. I mean, I don't know what Ramsey's on. Let's say he was on a modest 45 grand a week, something like that. Not a lot, clearly. Wanted a lot more than that. If you can bring in guys like Gisson, I can't like. I feel like I said this on the last podcast. I can't imagine Gisson's on more than 50 grand a week coming out of the French league. Like, especially when you look at Carlos Baleba, right? He's somebody everybody's talking about. Man United courting him, 120 million. All this. How much is he on? He's on 12.5 grand a week at Brighton. So just it plucks him out of obscurity. If we can do that and then, you know, do what Brighton do and go and flip somebody for 100 mil, that, you know, it's short term, but it solves your problems, right? So, you know, you could do that with Rodgers. You could, but I would argue that he is untouchable. And unless somebody offers over 100 million quid, he ain't going anywhere. But if you can find these guys, whether it's from the lower leagues or if you can go to the continent and find some value, then I think, you know, it's not the end of the world, is it? And it does potentially then help you ease your problems. I think we've got to buy smarter, and I think that's what we've been doing. I think that's what we've done with Rodgers. I think that's what we've done with Gissand, and I think that's what we'll continue to do with whoever else that may be. Asensio's a name that's been mentioned a lot, mate, hasn't it? And that is like just the complete opposite scale of what I'm talking about in terms of finding somebody with potential, with resale value, somebody that's cheap. The one thing that doesn't make sense to me here, he would have to take a crazy, crazy reduction in wage for this to be viable for us with the SCR issues, right? And let's say he's probably earning like 200 grand a week, 250 grand a week at PSG. So they're good for that. Even at 150 grand at Villa, he's one of our highest earners, and it's just a lot of money. And as much as I love Marco, and I would love to make that permanent, is that the right? I mean, I don't even want to say is that the right way to go and replace JJ, because it isn't a JJ replacement. It's a totally different position, but obviously to sort of strengthen the attack, is this like a sentimental thing, mate, or like does it make sense?
Well, to flip from one transfer where Villa didn't hold the cards to one where I think we do, I think there's a reason we're now exploring this deal in August and not June.
Yeah.
Right. In the things haven't gone Marco's way this summer.
He was supposed to be in Turkey by now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had the here we go. It was ready to go. He was ready to link up with John Duran and Diego Carlos at Fenerbahce. It was all signed, sealed, and delivered. And then just radio silence. Nothing happened. And then weeks have gone by, and people have just started realizing, hey, wait, Marco Asensio is still at PSG. Something has happened, clearly, and that move to Fenerbahce has broken down at the 11th hour. And so Marco Asensio, finds himself mid-August, a few days out before the start of the season. Clearly, PSG have no interest whatsoever in bringing him back. He has to leave the club. And I think the demands that, you know, I have no doubt that we would have sounded out a move, at least kind of explored the terms of a potential move in June, and have clearly gone, you know what, you're all right. However, now I think Marco might have to be taking a 0 or 2 off the end of his wages. Yeah, I've got looking at a kind of few different websites. Apparently, he's on exactly as you say, about 250 grand a week, 270,000 euros. It looks like we picked up around 130,000 euros a week as part of the loan move. So ballpark, half of his wages, kind of split that 50-50. It's a little bit longer than I maybe expected. He's 29, 30 years old. It's apparently a 3-year contract. I think it hinges massively on what the transfer fee is. Again, like, we have to be sensible here. Saw a few journos saying it could be up to 20 mil. And look, like, he's definitely a 20 million pound player, but context, as we've kind of been talking all episode, mate, context is so important in these transfers. I think, we really have to play on the kind of desperation of this. This isn't a deal that we have to have done for game week 1 of the Premier League that we have to rush through. I think we can sit on this. And I think the club, like, if we think that we can get a better deal on August 30th or whatever, when 11:59, then that may be when you have to wait until. And so, look, he was great. I think we're
Phenomenally,
really enjoyed. He was, when you look back at the numbers, the games that he played in, we had a really, really good record in. But the only thing is Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, that is a big one. That's a big one.
Marco Asensio's arrival almost exactly coincided with Morgan Rogers' downturn in form, because he was pushed out to the right-hand side, where I think communally as a fan base, we can agree that he was nowhere near as effective. And that is kind of my terms on this deal, mate, is if Marco Asensio coming in means that Morgan Rogers or any other player really gets bumped out of position, I'm not a fan. But I do think that he will come in with a different role. I think he came in and was a big name. Like, he arrived alongside Rashford. He commanded a spot in the starting 11. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he will fit a Ramsey, Marlon, he'll just be kind of one of those Buendia style floating pieces that kind of crop up in the front line in Europe and, for the Premier League here and there coming off the bench. I don't think he'll be a player that kind of come in and demand a starting spot. And I think the complexion of the deal has probably changed like immeasurably really in the last 2 months.
Yeah, Rashford obviously not being here, JJ leaving, that leaves the left side open potentially for Morgs, which could work. I think he's definitely better on the left than he's on the right. But yeah, ideally you want him playing through the middle, don't you? Or give him that sort of ability to roam free. Interesting you mentioned Buendia, because he's played his way back into contention. He's seemingly going nowhere. He's had a great preseason, and I'm happy about this. But then that also begs the question: do you need to make this signing? Because maybe it's disrespectful to Asensio to say that they're similar players, but they're kind of slight number 10s.
It's already like we don't have to pay Buendia. We don't have to sign Buendia for 20 million and pay him 130 grand a week. Like, we already have it. So it's like, even though Marco Asensio might be a better version, like, is he worth that transfer outlay?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's one that we'll have to put onto the guys in the comments, because I don't know where I stand on that. And like, things could change like this, and Buendia could be gone tomorrow. But yeah, I think it's all about market opportunities, mate. But speaking of market opportunities, Douglas Luiz, it's the one that just won't go away. Although his return to England seemingly appears to be to the East Midlands, not the West Midlands this time. Nottingham Forest. Evangelos Marinakis can't keep his fat fucking fingers away from our football club, and I cannot stand it. I hate this man. I hate everything that he stands for. I'm gonna get taken out by the Greek mafia now. But I cannot stand this guy, and I think of all of the clubs you could go and join, you saw he was linked to Leeds, but that's obviously never going to happen. To go and join Forest, like, really, like, okay, yeah, they're in the Europa League, like, great. There's nothing like guaranteed. Everybody, again, go back to my season predictions. Some people have Forest finishing 6th again, and I'm just kind of like, what? what world are we living in here? Nuno's the manager. They've lost half the squad. Like, this is. Do you really want to join that, Dougie? Like, really? Come on. Like, just come home. We'll figure something out.
This is again a deal that I think has really kind of outlined to me why I don't work in football.
Oh,
Because if this were me and I was at Villa and Douglas Luiz became available, PSR, SCR, get it. I don't care. I don't care. Bring him home. I'll pay whatever it takes. I don't care if we don't need him. I don't care. Who is Onana? I don't care. I don't care that we've signed like 2 replacements. Bring him back. Yeah. So yeah, Douglas Luiz has not had a good time with it in Italy.
he's not been
Alicia
he's
Lehmann.
training and stuff.
Yeah, Alicia Lehmann's left as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, who knows what's going on with them? Who knows?
yes, she's gone to Como. He might be flying back to the UK. But apparently, there's a few Premier League clubs that are kind of skirting around. And I don't actually think we should do our 1 to 20 at the Premier League predictions now. I think we should do 1 to 20 of clubs that we would least mind signing.
Yes, do it. Let's do it.
Like which of the 20 Premier League clubs could I tolerate that deal the most with right down? And Nottingham Forest, they're right down in the relegation zone. They're like, I would struggle to watch that. The game might be gone.
Gone.
Yeah, look, Dougie,
It'd be a great move for him, but
I know you're watching. I want him to be happy. He's so great. I'm really surprised it hasn't worked out in Italy. I was kind of like the Italian game, a bit more time with the ball. Midfielders just seem to go there from the Premier League particularly and just like explode. And yeah, I thought it was a really, really good move for him, but the stars have not aligned. Doesn't really feel like he ever got a fair shine. Yeah, it's really not good. So yeah, Nottingham Forest have open talks with Juventus around a potential move. There are other 2 Premier League clubs, according to Sky Sports, that have submitted bids for the midfielder, which are currently under consideration. So a hard hit of copium will tell me does Villa are one of those. The heart says yes, the head says no. We are not that. And so yeah, we'll sit and wait and see. But
should you ever go back though? Do you ever?
Well, that's the thing is that we narrowly, when we pulled Juve out of the hat in the Champions League groups last season, I was fully preparing myself for emotional turmoil. He didn't actually play that evening, thank God. And I thought we'd finally skipped it, but yeah, apparently not. Douglas Luiz coming to Villa Park near you. Jack too, as well, obviously.
Yeah,
but in a different shade of blue this year.
Doesn't that just make you feel sick? Everybody was like, "I'm so happy. He's wearing Birmingham City blue."
Yeah, it's an odd.
Colour.
That's the move that really rubber stamps that he's not coming home.
Did you see that bit from was it Greg Evans' book that he?
I did see that actually.
I've not read the book, but he posted he'd done an interview with Jack and posted the first paragraph on Twitter, and it kind of sounds like there was maybe a tinge of regret, which does, I think, make a little.
So yeah, Jack agreed to do an interview for the book on the basis that it would be a whole chapter in Greg Evans, friend of the pod, Waking the Giants, Greg Evans' new book. Chapter 11 is Selling Jack, and the opening paragraph is, "There's times now where I think what might have happened if I stayed at Villa, it would have been nice to stay there for my whole career."
Does that make you feel good hearing that?
It
I feel like I flip-flop on Jack all the time. I wake up one day and, he's the ex-girlfriend you never get over, right? That's just the truth of it. I think there's some days where I wake up and I'm like, bloody hell, I would love Jack Grealish to come back to Villa. But, I think I don't believe in the ick. I hate it. I hate the concept, but I feel like when I saw him in that Everton shirt, I massively got the ick.
With the kind of greasy ponytail?
Yeah,
come on, dude. Come on.
You're 29, mate. Come on.
I also I taking myself completely out of the equation, like emotions out of it. 50 million option to buy on a 31-year-old Jack Grealish. No. No. That is a bad deal if ever I saw. And 50 mil for a 31 Jack Grealish, I'm probably like 150, 200 grand a week. No thanks.
The bars are doing a crowdfund in the surrounding area to get that done, aren't they?
That's what I'm saying. It's I think with an option to buy, I dare say, City will be once again trying to offload Jack Grealish from their books next summer. But hey, I don't think he will get quite the sour reception at Villa Park, turning up in an Everton shirt as he would in a City shirt.
I don't know.
think it,
I don't know. I think people are still. Do you know what it is? It's been a circus, hasn't it? You go back a couple years, you've got the diving for the penalty, all that. Then you've got the all the stuff with the family getting involved, and again, you can understand it. You're going to defend your son, but I feel like there is a bit of genuinely from his side as well. I think there's a bit of aggro there.
yeah, I think. I don't want to say this because like it's a World Cup year. He needs to play football.
Yeah,
This is a chance for him to get things back on track, but it is just a bit sad.
yeah,
You know, when he made this deal, like if you'd have shown him that picture of him at his Everton unveiling with, still 18 months on his City deal, that would have been tough. So
it's the Gareth Barry and Fabian Delph pipeline, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. It's good to say that. Yeah, football is just a full circle, mate.
It is. So who's the next person?
Hey, I mean, Luca D did it the other way around. So
That's true.
I could so see John Duran rocking up in an Everton shirt. I could so see that.
Are we skipping the Man City transfer?
Yeah, just but John Duran. John Duran is doing his football career in reverse. I've said this. He like MLS, Saudi, and like already bog stuff and Turkey. By the age of 21, he's doing his football career in reverse. He'll be 35 playing for Brighton. I can tell this. He's doing football backwards.
Oh, that's so true. I love it, mate. We've got less than 2 minutes left on the Zoom. I've got to ask you for a score prediction first of the season. Thought you were going to get away with it.
It's 3-1 the Villa.
I'll take that.
It's,
you know what?
3-1 the Villa.
But how nice would a clean sheet be, mate?
Yeah.
How nice would that be?
Really excited to see that. Look and see. Is it Maatsen? Is it Digne? There's a few things like who started at right back. Yeah. Is it Conser at right back? Exactly. There's so many unknowns. I feel like the rest of the team you could map out. The defense is interesting. And I'm assuming it would be Bezo in goal as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no Martinez. Yeah.
Will carry over a suspension. So yeah, be really interesting to see how the defense. I think based on that, if it is a slightly newer back line, clean sheet might be a bit much to ask for. But I will go. I think we'll score a few goals, 3-1.
I'll take that. The meltdown on Twitter is going to be generational when people forget that Martinez is suspended. Isn't it? Yeah, people are going to lose their minds. It's going to be so good. I'm here for it. But this is great. It might be bizarre. Full debut at Villa Park. Hopefully you can keep a clean sheet. That'd be great. I'm gonna go 4-1. I think 4-1 Villa.
Bring it on.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it, guys. Let us know your prediction in the comment section down below. If you listen on Spotify, make sure you download, follow, share with your friends. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.